Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, members of the media, to the listening and viewing public of Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you very much for responding positively to this news conference called in my capacity as the Acting Minister of National Security, the substantive minister being outside on national duties, representing the government of Trinidad and Tobago in the United States of America. Let me first recognize at the head table Lieutenant Colonel Ashok Singh, Major Michael Adams, Deputy Commissioner of Police Mr. Kurt Simon, as well as Senior Superintendent Sean Henry of the Western Division. Ladies and gentlemen, you would recall that on Sunday, at a news conference held at this ministry, the members of the Protective Services of Trinidad and Tobago would have reported to the national community a serious matter where a Galil assault rifle went missing at the Tetron barracks. Upon the discovery of the missing weapon, a number of operations were held and collaboration between the arms of national security, including the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force, the intelligence-led agencies of the Trinidad and Tobago National Security Apparatus, as well as the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service leading and conducting a criminal investigation into the matter. I am pleased to report to the national community that as a result of collaboration between all arms of national security over the last couple of days, at 1 p.m. today, the assault rifle, the Galil assault rifle, together with the magazine, was discovered in the Macrip area as a result of a tip that was passed to the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force, working in collaboration with the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. The Galil weapon was in fact discovered with the magazine in the Macrip area, and the government of Trinidad and Tobago, the Prime Minister as well as the Acting Prime Minister, would want to go on public record to commend the men and women of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, the men and women of the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force, who continue to collaborate on intelligence-led operations throughout Trinidad and Tobago, as well as the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, who continue to conduct investigations into this matter. And as a result of that collaboration, the weapon was discovered. I also wish to report to the national community that 2 persons remain in custody, police custody, in relation to the criminal investigation, and the police is expecting to lay charges against 2 persons, including a member of the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force, in relation to the missing weapon. So once again, let me congratulate the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force, the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service for their continued collaboration and working very hard to ensure that this weapon is not used to perpetrate serious crimes against the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. In the event that you have any questions, we have members of the head table that are willing to respond to any of the questions that you may wish to pose.
Tell me something. What systems would there be in place to prevent an occurrence like this? Because and this is not the first time that we have seen weapons from national security and law enforcement being placed in positions where they can be a harm to persons and the public, right? What systems is in place now? Is there a review of the systems?
So I will ask Lieutenant Colonel Ashok Singh to respond to this question.
Thank you very much, sir. Good afternoon to members of the media, members of the listening public. As indicated, I'm Lieutenant Colonel Ashok Singh, the Acting Commanding Officer of the Trinidad and Tobago Regiment. I'd wish to advise that the Trinidad and Tobago Regiment has robust standing operating procedures and regulations regarding the use, storage, and management of weapons and ammunition. As part of this robust system, a Board of Inquiry has been convened to conduct a comprehensive inquiry into the circumstances that led to this unusual occurrence and prevent a reoccurrence. Thank you.
Minister, you said in your presentation that the law enforcement got a tip. I know that there was a reward on the table at some point in time. Would that person qualify, or was that person anonymous in regards of the tip towards the direction of discovering the weapon?
The person did not identify themselves, neither did the person request any reward for the information that was passed to the National Security Services.
Right, Minister, or anyone on the head tape, especially from under the TTPS, regarding a video that was circulating, just as an off-topic, a video circulating with the acting prisons commissioner and firearms on the same issue of weapons being hung on a tree, and with other items. What is the situation now? Is there an investigation, or there's something that the police is looking into?
So good evening to the media, good evening to the members of the listening public. In response to your question, sir, the TTPS, we have viewed that short video clip circulating, and the TTPS will not be conducting any investigations into that matter.
Do you see anything that's warrant? There was nothing in the video that warranted an investigation?
So I would prefer to be very transparent on this particular matter, but this news conference was called specifically to address and to update the national community on that very serious issue of the missing Galil from the Tetron barracks. I would prefer at this point in time not to allow the news conference to go into areas outside of the purpose for which the news conference was called.
Yeah, good day, Minister. News Day here. The details of the weapon, could you say if it was discharged or maybe Lieutenant Colonel? Maybe?
So the weapon was discovered at around 1 p.m. today.
Okay.
The Trinidad and Tobago Police Service and all of their support services, they will conduct an in-depth, and they continue to conduct an in-depth investigation, including fingerprinting and all of the other investigations that would normally go into the discovery of a firearm. So at this point in time, we do not have any further information to share on whether that firearm was used to perpetrate any criminal act against the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. So we cannot see if from the time it was missing from Tetron Barracks and today, whether the firearm was used in that intervening period.
And could we ask Lieutenant Colonel Singh about a magazine was found with it? Because I know last Sunday the question was asked as to whether the rifle was loaded or not, so whether there was a bullet in the chamber.
So I was specifically asked the question in the Senate, and I responded.
Right.
At the point in time, yes. Mm-hmm. And it was reported in the national community that no ammunition was missing together with the firearm and the magazine. Mm. So what was in fact missing was the firearm together with the magazine. And the police and the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force did discover the firearm and the magazine.
But could we say anything about the magazine? Like, it was a magazine fitted for a Galil, and did it have any ammunition in it, like subsequently found?
As indicated last Sunday, the Galil assault rifle was fitted with a magazine, but that magazine had no rounds in it at the time.
Okay. All right. The member of the Defence Force who's going to be charged, will he also be charged under military law? Because I think it was your colleague, Mr. Daniel, said there's a Defence Act. So, these guys who can be charged under civilian law and military law. Anything by way of court-martial or any defence provisions?
So as the Lieutenant Colonel would have said a short while ago, there are 3 investigations taking place in relation to this matter. You have the police investigation that is looking at the commission of any criminal conduct on the part of anyone or persons. Then you have the Board of Inquiry, that is looking at processes and procedures and whether or not there might be any loopholes that would have contributed to the weapon going missing or being stolen from Tetron Barracks. The Board of Inquiry will address any shortcomings in that regard. And then you have the investigation being conducted by the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force. And that investigation is geared towards ensuring, or rather identifying whether or not persons ought to be placed on disciplinary action in relation to the stolen firearm.
Any estimate for the cost of this whole retrieval exercise, either in terms of manpower, like how many men you had searching around the clock?
Of course, we would not have.
I mean,
have that
you might do. Well, if it's police, and then so you may have a rough estimate. Well, we had 10 guys searching since last Sunday.
A number of operations were conducted during that period of time, comprising of members of the intelligence agencies, the members of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, as well as members of the Defense Force operational team. But at this point in time, we cannot say or ascribe any particular cost to this exercise.
Good afternoon. Just asking if there's any updates on a firearm that went off near the President's house last month, and if there's any connection between the missing firearm, well, the firearm that has not been recovered, I should say, and that incident, because the timing of it, while not casting any aspersions, does look curious.
There's no link between the firearm that was stolen from the Defense Force compound and any discharge occurring anywhere else, at least not as yet.
From last Sunday was actually two press conferences wrapped up into one. There was another topic which was an alleged assault on a 21-year-old female Venezuelan who was being held in custody at the heliport for illegal entry. So we want to get any update on that at all. Because last Sunday, that part of the press conference was it was showing like the caring face of Trinidad and Tobago, the victim support unit, the counter-trafficking unit, but we actually also have the Defense Force personnel who would have a say. So could we get any comment at all from Mr. Singh?
So I'm trying to be very consistent here, because I would have mentioned to one of your colleagues a short while ago that this news conference was called specifically to update the national community on the issue of the stolen rifle from the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force and Tetron Barracks in particular. And so I prefer not to comment on any matters outside of this particular issue, but I'm certain that as soon and as long as the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service as well as the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force have any update on this particular matter, the Ministry of National Security would ensure that the appropriate systems are put in place to update the national community on matters outside of the missing firearm from Tetron.
Two questions, Minister. You said that two persons were detained and one was attached to law enforcement. Is the other person a civilian?
Yes.
And what charges, it's possible charges that could be laid against these individuals who are in custody at the moment?
But because it is at a very sensitive stage now, Mr. Carrington, the police will be consulting with the Director of Public Prosecution between today or tomorrow, and I prefer not to comment on the various charges that may be possibly laid against the suspects in the matter. Okay, so thank you, ladies and gentlemen, members of the media. Again, let me thank you very much for responding in a very positive way to this very short notice. And again, let me go on record in commending the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service as well as the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force for their continued collaboration into ensuring that we would have recovered this missing weapon or stolen weapon from the Tetron Barracks. And it is as a result of that collaborative exercise and that spirit of collaboration between the various agencies of national security that we were able to recover the Galil rifle within a short period of time. And I feel a sense of relief on behalf of the government of Trinidad and Tobago that this is not a weapon that is exposed to criminal elements to perpetrate crimes against the people of Trinidad and Tobago. So thank you very much.